No wonder there's so many Christians. Yes. Excellent intro there. Good morning, Austin, and welcome to the Atheist Experience. We're trying something new with our little background here. So,
floating heads.
Yes. So didn't know. Yes.
Excellent.
Yes. That artwork is brought to you by Arlo Pignati. He's a member of our group. He does the sound effects and everything else. So call us in. Let us know how you think of this. This is November 22nd.
We have a phone number that's not up there, 472-2255.
Yes, and we will be taking your calls live on air. This is Joe Zamecki. Let me finish the introductions. I'm sorry. And Vic Farrow, is our this week's guest. He's also a member of Atheist Community of Austin. We usually like to start out with our announcements from our group there. We meet every Sunday at the Hot Jumble Bakery. It's down at 5th and Lavaca. And
Whoops.
We lost our background. No, not you. You're fine, guys.
No, you're doing good.
There.
I felt so naked for a minute there.
Our bodies reappeared.
Glad we didn't take our shirts off.
Yes.
That was actually a plan for a while there. But
anyway, like I say, this is live. No telling what's going to happen here, and I like the background there.
yeah, great artwork there, Arlo Pignati. Yeah.
Yes. Was there any other announcements you'd like?
We have a blood drive coming up, January 23rd of 1999. A blood drive. We all try to go down to the Central Texas Regional Blood Center on North Lamar and go get some blood. And who knows, any number of different religious people might end up with some atheist blood and be the better for it. But that's something we like to do every 3 months. Check it out. Okay.
All right. And we would like to thank the UT Skeptical Society for a wonderful debate we went to Friday. I think that the Skeptical Society definitely won,
sure.
if you ask me.
Sure.
And the convincing arguments.
I bet there's Christians that saying the same thing today. We won. We
yes,
won.
That's a strong possibility there. We had a great turnout from our group there. Several members of the group made it to the debate.
Oh, yeah.
And I was real impressed with the turnout. There was probably about 200 some odd people. You get to see what clothes we're really wearing here now.
Yeah.
Back to this here.
But that was a great debate. I went to that. It was on the UT campus in an auditorium, a really big one, and quite a turnout too. In fact, I would say, judging from the applause meter in my mind, that skeptics definitely outnumbered Christians. But there were all kinds of people there, and lots of great questions, and a whole lot of airing of views, and actually a little bit of emotions on some of those questions, which is just fine. It's great, a great exploration into people's thinking.
And this week you did bring in the book there. Oh, you still got it? Yes. Because last week we ended up talking about a lot of dating there. And would you like to?
Well, no. The guy was bringing up certain types of dating, and I'm not a geologist, so I just looked up what I could find on different types of dating.
And this book is in our library.
It's in our library.
Yes.
Yeah, time scale. There it is.
Yeah.
Time scale. And in the back there's a bunch of definitions of different stuff related to the book, and I found several different ways of dating rocks. From fission tracking, potassium argon, which was the one he was talking about. Anyway, radiocarbon dating, radiometric dating, rubidium strontium dating. I don't even know what strontium is.
But they all coincide with each other. They don't agree 100%.
Yeah, what they do is, what I found is what they'll do is not just one particular method of dating. What they'll do is they'll cross-reference this date with that kind of dating, with that kind of dating, and try to see if they'll all match each other. Right. And that way they get a better reference for what the time of whatever it is they're dating.
So they get a percentage of accuracy.
You don't just rely on one particular type of dating because it could be wrong.
Right.
And so you have to check it with other methods.
Well, and science never claims to be 100% accurate on anything.
No.
There's always a measure of accuracy, and any true scientist will then publish his accuracy along with any figures that he gives. He'll usually
That's
say.
the purpose of peer review. You put your stuff up, what you found out, somebody else takes a look at it, see if they can find something wrong with it.
So I want to know what kind of superhero you are, man. Look at that. You're like the Flash? I don't know. Excellent. We're having fun with this, folks. Thanks a lot.
Yeah.
Bear with us.
And we'll be trying all kinds of things with our show here. And I was hoping, I see a bunch of lights calling up there. Yes, this is live November 22nd. and everybody should know what that date is in history.
22nd is the date that Kennedy was assassinated.
Exactly, 35 years ago.
Yeah.
And,
I was 1 month old.
Yeah. So yes, we've been getting a lot of rehash on the history and everything else. So I think it's interesting. And I was in kindergarten, so it's one of my first memories. I do remember it. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if you want to go on to something else.
Why not?
We're getting the callers'
Real
names
quick.
here.
Sure.
Go right ahead.
This is from the British Freethinker. Excellent publication. We often talk about articles in here. Real quick, and there's a couple of good ones, but I'll start off with one about the Pope. The Pope, who must have already gone down in history as the most apologetic pontiff ever, according to a report in The Guardian, now under pressure from his advisors to say sorry for the Crusades. If he agrees to express his regrets on behalf of Pope Urban II, who launched the Crusades in 1095, the apology will be included at an all-encompassing sorrow fest destined to take place on March 8 of the year 2000. On that date, the Pope is expected to ask for pardon on behalf of the Roman Catholic Church for most of its biggest mistakes. The Polish Pope Paul also has publicly expressed regret for the Inquisition, the recantation of Galileo, the role of the Roman Catholics in the Holocaust, and the burning of any number of heretics. So on March 8, 2000, I'm looking forward to that, to see the Sorrow Fest. And, I just don't think it's enough, though. It's, a token idea, but it doesn't even come close. But once again, the Pope, he's just he's stepping on himself all the time. So, but he's coming in January also, and I'm going to go picket him.
Yeah,
I'll let you know about that, how that goes.
The church didn't apologize for what they did to Galileo till 1992 either.
Yeah.
That's like not admitting the Earth was not at the center of the universe till then. It's about time.
Excellent point. Yes. That also reminded me. The Pope came out and said he wants all the Catholics to be voting against any Catholic official that claims to be Catholic but is for abortion rights, and that just blows me away that there's people out there that would do one item or one issue vote. And I'd love to hear from our callers how many people use abortion as their one issue when it comes to voting. Myself, I don't see how abortion views of the Railroad Commission or has any...
Yeah, that was the article I read, was that they had sent a questionnaire to the Railroad Commissioner candidates to find out what their views on are abortion.
Yeah.
Right.
And the Railroad Commissioner doesn't have anything to do with abortion.
Yeah, but they'll still register their opinion, though, very loudly.
Basically, if you're any kind of way pro-abortion, they won't vote for you because you're not anti-abortion.
But
so it doesn't matter what you do, it's how you think.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you. Good job, Arlen.
That was good. Yes.
There was an article this week in the Austin American Statesman regarding the same thing. Catholics bishops urge anti-abortion drive. The paper also asked priests to tell their congregations to consider a candidate's position on abortion as the first priority when casting a ballot. First priority, regardless of what it is. And to place this issue above all other social justice concerns that the Church has long espoused, including such matters as welfare, poverty, euthanasia, and assisted suicide. So you can kill yourself, but you can't kill babies.
Well, not really babies anyway, but I do have a story also about the Roman Catholic and abortion. Once again, this comes from Associated Press from November 5. It's a little old. Sorry. Vancouver, British Columbia. An editorial in a Roman Catholic Church newspaper has drawn sharp criticism by suggesting that the murders of abortion-performing doctors, quote, might have some positive effects. The editorial appeared in this week's edition, or the week's edition of the BC. British Columbia Catholic, published by the Catholic Archdiocese of Vancouver, in the aftermath of the fatal shooting of a doctor in Buffalo who performed abortions. Police believe the shooting was linked to 3 sniper attacks in Canada since 1994 against abortion-providing doctors. But the controversy over this editorial in this Catholic publication is over this one passage that is, quote, how can anyone help but be pleased that the murders of some abortionists just might have some positive side effects, unquote. And fewer doctors are willing to face the stigma and now the threat of personal harm associated with performing abortions. It goes to show that our powerful, all-loving God can can bring good from any evil situation, unquote. What a mess. Are these Catholics crazy? I used to be one of them, and I'm ashamed. I really, and especially the Pope. I'm Polish, and he really makes me ashamed to be Polish. But, you know, ideas like that, it's just ridiculous. I'm always going to be against mentalities like that. I don't know about anybody else, but it just makes me sick.
Yes. I see you got a whole stack of articles.
I go through the paper and clip out everything I think is interesting, and we use some of it and some of it we don't. But the interesting that happened this week was the meteor shower. I got up at 4 o'clock in the morning on Tuesday morning to go watch it. It was a heck of a light show, if anybody saw it.
Yes.
I saw one in particular where it came through the sky and broke off into two, left a really long trail. It was kind of a thrill for me. I don't know about anybody else.
Oh, yeah.
But, my little telescope, I was out there trying to look at the...
So how many did you see in the time you saw?
I was for 45 minutes, and I counted 28. And I was in the city, so if you were out in the country somewhere with less city lights, you'd have saw a lot more.
And just think, just a few hundred years ago, that people would have been in the streets thinking
the sky is falling, the sky is falling.
Yeah, with the millennium happening, with the millennium happening and the meteor storm.
Oh, yeah.
And, so if that's been 1,000 years ago.
But we knew this one was coming, though, so.
Yes.
Yeah.
So,
that's excellent. Yeah.
Yes.
Makes me want to be an astronomer.
I'd like to be an astronomer, but I don't know if there's a lot of money in that.
Well, one thing I brought in was this month's, the December issue of Life, and it's got the word God prominently displayed across there. And what the deal is, this is actually a title, Frank McCourt, When You Think of God, What Do You See? And they actually do an excerpt from a book that he did there. Life doesn't go into much detail on that. They do mostly pictures. So I would like to show you some of the pictures, which they're showing all the different religions and how religions are going.
Dave.
Oh, I'm not seeing what's going on.
Okay, good. Thank you.
These are all, they're just doing different, and the religious state in America here. Okay, sorry.
Well, that one you just showed is like amazing. I really think that's remarkable. It's like 4 different pictures of sheep in humans' clothing. You know what I'm saying? I'm serious. I mean, that's really what it looks like. And it's sad, too. And in fact, all these people have their eyes closed. All these people got their butts up in the air. All these guys are rich white guys with green
shirts.
Yeah, with green shirts. You know, the list goes on.
But then it goes through here and points out that the fact that we're the freest religious country in America, we have become the most religious nation in the world. Is what I'm trying to say. He starts giving a few facts here. It says 96% of Americans believe in God.
96%, yeah.
Compared to 70% with Britain. And part of the reason why I wanted to bring this article in is we've had a couple callers call in, talk about how the downhill slide of America, how atheist America is coming. And here's an author who spent a couple years. It doesn't really say how long he took to research the book, but he goes through here and gets the percentage different facts here. Is that like 33% of Americans believe that the Bible is the actual Word of God. So, and I've asked several times for people to call in that believe that.
The first one you gave, though, 96% of Americans believe in God. Now, this sounds like one of those Gallup polls where they stood outside a church just about 10:01 a.m. on Sunday, and they said, do you believe in God? Well, and they actually did that with a survey one time and called those average Americans. That's what makes those kind of surveys suspect. You know, there's a definite bias, and they definitely are looking for a certain outcome.
Well, then he goes in here and gives the facts about how many different religions are represented here in America. So, it says 96 believe in God, but then it goes in there and shows you how many different gods there is. So,
and one God? No, it's obviously not.
And there's several that believe in multitudes of God. You know, so you have to define God better than that for this statistic to really mean anything.
What happened to 10% of the population being atheists?
Yeah, that's more like it right there.
That's a good question.
But that picture also bothers me because it doesn't look like they're worshiping God. It looks like they're worshiping gold.
Oh, yeah, well,
this is the Russian Orthodox is what he's...
Russian Orthodox in the middle of communism. Okay, talk to us about religious persecution.
This is in Brooklyn's cathedral.
Well, it came from Russia, same thing. They have a big Russian Orthodox church in Russia. But
we have sheiks here in America?
Sikhs.
Sikhs. I'm sorry, I thought that.
And sheiks. And sheiks. Those guys.
Yes, the Christian fellowships from athletes in action. The Fellowship of Christian Athletes. Never before has God had such a visible presence on the playing field. At San Marcos Baptist Academy in Texas, prayer follows every game and practice. The team never asks for a win, says Coach Mike Kipps, because if the other team also is praying for a win and they win, that means God prefers someone else besides them. So,
do you think God gets ESPN?
Yes.
Well, if he cares, he's probably a gambler.
Tonight's program to God.
Why?
But
and his Son, the Lord Jesus Christ.
Okay.
But they go on. There's another interesting one. There's a lot of motorcycle clubs now that are going into. I've seen several out there with Jesus on their leather jackets there and all that. This particular one, Son of God, Sons of God, New Jerusalem. And,
that's scary. I'm sorry, I gotta say,
Jesus and a switchblade.
Yes.
Yeah, it's no different than Banditos or Hell's Angels when they advertise violence blatantly. That's, a dying man on a cross with a crown of thorns. That's just as violent, I think.
Then we go to the Pentecostals. They're doing a big mass baptize. I was wondering if that was the same article we had.
No, but I have information about that. Go on. Keep going.
Okay.
I do have a little bit. In fact, I'll dig that up now.
Okay, well, go ahead and get it out.
Baptism with a water hose?
Yeah, it was.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not saying this is the same
Is that
article.
the one where they were
No,
trying
it's not.
to get them not to use the fire hoses?
Yeah.
But
Go on.
This was in Charlotte, North Carolina. Leader sprays worships and welcomes them to the family of Pentecostals. 130 million strong. Nearly 12 million of them in the United States alone. Yes. Go ahead. Yeah,
Well,
let's hear what your article is.
This was in North Carolina. What they wanted to do was the United...
It'd be the same place.
Yeah.
This is North Carolina.
Well, then that's probably it. Yeah, United House of Prayer for All People Church. Exactly, the same one. Good one.
Good.
They have a picture of this, what we were working against here. And it was the United House of Prayer for All People. They wanted to use city fire trucks and personnel for a mass baptism while their own facilities undergo repairs. The city attorney was quickly notified by Jim Sinison, who is the North Carolina Director of American Atheists. Wayne Aiken Jim Sinison is one of our people in North Carolina. And... as well as other state church separation organizations with their concerns, and the city attorney agreed that such a use was inappropriate. The church made other arrangements for their baptism. The presence of vigilant and vocal members of the community is a good way of preventing separation violations before they happen, when public servants know they're being watched and they are much more likely to act responsibly and legally. I think what they did is they went and called a volunteer fire department, and the volunteer fire department came over and gave them all the water and help they wanted, because apparently that's a for-profit business. I wasn't aware of that, though. But on to other things.
So like I said, the reason I brought it in is because we've had several callers call in and say about the downhill slide of religion here in America, and I just want to point out that it's, especially according to this author in this book, it's strong as ever, and the reason for that is we have religious freedom here in America, and we also have freedom from religion. So, and I feel that 96% of the people that believe in 50 different things would make them a minority compared to the amount of atheists. I think the atheist number, if you sit down and try to define God on each and every different one here, from the Muslims to the Mormons to the Jews, the evangelists, the Hindus, the Russian Orthodox, Sikhs, Roman Catholics,
and the football players and the gang members.
Jains.
Jains?
That's
What is that?
I never heard of that one until I saw this article.
Jainism calls for nonviolence, vegetarianism, and the pursuit of nirvana. Well,
and there's
Kurt Cobain's dead.
There's 100,000 of them here in the United States. 10 million in India.
Kurt Cobain's dead. Nirvana is not coming back. Okay, so just give it up.
Pentecostal, African Orthodox, Greek Orthodox, Holy Rollers, Buddhists, and see, that's just touching on them. And
Buddhism doesn't have a god.
Well, they have reincarnation and other supernatural things, spirits and stuff. But
according to this, there's 780,000 of them here now. So the book goes in there and gives you statistics on each religion breakdown and everything else, and so I'm going to do what I can about finding out more about that book.
There are other religions, though, besides those here in America.
That's what I was saying, yeah.
Lots of them.
It goes into another interesting picture that he gives in, and I see you have an article about the shepherd.
He was arraigned, or not Matthew Shepard was arraigned. One of the accused was arraigned, or not arraigned, but they had a hearing to determine if there was enough evidence to go to trial. The other suspect waived that hearing because apparently he knows there's enough evidence to go to trial. So, but they're holding him for trial. It's going to go.
Well, they also have a picture in here from one of the protesters from that.
Yeah, about 3.
Oh. Which camera? Yeah.
Or we can zoom on one, whichever.
Yes.
Freedom of choice is the right
Come on, Dave.
to hate.
Yes.
Okay.
This is one of the protesters at Matthew Shepard's funeral, and I did.
Well, what does that mean, though? Freedom of choice is the right to hate. I don't.
So he's saying that's his American right.
Oh, I see. Yeah, it's okay to hate because it's freedom. Oh, huh?
I just thought it was a good, because he's wearing his VFW
hat. Yeah.
So obviously he's a veteran and everything else, and he's thinking he fought for the right
to hate.
Yes.
Okay. Huh? Yeah. If you don't hurt anybody, I guess you can hate all you want.
Yeah. As long as you're nonviolent about it,
That's
you can
probably
hate.
what I have the most about against the
hate crimes laws
is that it's thought policing, really.
Right.
You're not the guy committed murder, and then he's guilty of murder, and he should be prosecuted for that murder. It doesn't really matter what he thinks about it.
Well, all right. Well, anyway, I was going to pass a secret message to you, but that's okay.
Confused me, man.
Well, anyway.
Just remind everybody, this is live November 22nd. We'll take your phone calls. There we go.
Excellent.
Floating heads.
I like that background myself, and we're going to have more fun with that. Yeah.
The ghost in the machine.
Call us and let us know what you think of our backgrounds, our new backgrounds, and we'd like to hear what you think about the Pope and the Catholics voting against abortion and all that. So we throw out a wide variety of topics there.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
And this is from Church and State, the November '98 issue, Church and State. This is the publication put out by Americans United for Separation of Church and State. Very fine publication. They bring us a lot of stories. And this one comes to us from West Virginia. The mayor of the West Virginia town of Hurricane, that's the name of the city, Hurricane, West Virginia, has been forced to formally rescind his official proclamation calling for, quote, Jesus Christ to bring the gospel to the world, unquote. Raymond Peake, that is the name of the mayor, withdrew the proclamation in the face of criticism from local civil liberties activists, constitutional scholars, and religious leaders. He apologized for the controversy and insisted that the move was not intended to offend anyone. Quote, I would not do anything on behalf of the city of Hurricane or myself that would intentionally violate the First Amendment in regards to the separation of church and state. I now realize that the proclamation as written did violate that provision, unquote. And but that reminds me of Colbert Olson, who was the governor of California for a while during the 40s or 50s, not sure. But he was an atheist, and he successfully campaigned against California, the state of California's official motto being changed to In God We Trust. I can imagine what state would come up with that and actually pass that. But all these little mottos and catchphrases and stuff, they're a dime a dozen. So, anyway.
Well, thanks. Vic brought in a joke he'd like to share with us this morning.
The monkey joke. Famous monkey joke. I love this joke. It goes like this. I like monkeys. The pet store was selling them for 5 cents a piece. And I thought that was kind of odd since they normally go for a couple of thousands. But I decided not to look a gift horse in the mouth, and I bought 200. I like monkeys. I took my 200 monkeys home. I have a big car. Let one of them drive. His name was Sigmund. He was retarded. In fact, none of them were really very bright. They just kept punching themselves in their genitals. And I laughed, and then one punched me in my genitals, and I stopped laughing. I herded them into my room, and they didn't adapt well to their new environment. They would just screech and hurl themselves off the couch at high speeds and slam into the wall. Although humorous at first, the spectacle lost its novelty halfway into its third hour. 2 hours later, I found out why all the monkeys were so inexpensive. They all died. No apparent reason. They just sort of dropped dead, kind of like when you buy a goldfish and it dies 5 hours later. Damn cheap monkeys. I didn't know what to do. There's 200 dead monkeys lying all over my room, on the bed, in the dresser, hanging from the bookcase. It looked like I had 200 throw rugs. I tried to flush one down the toilet, and that didn't work. It got stuck. And then I had one dead wet monkey in my toilet and 199 dead dry monkeys. I tried pretending that they were just stuffed animals, and that worked for a while. That is until they began to decompose. and the smell started to get real bad. I had to pee, and there was a dead monkey in the toilet, and I didn't want to call the plumber because I was embarrassed. I tried to slow down the decomposition by freezing them, but unfortunately there was only enough room in the freezer for 2 monkeys at a time, so I had to change them every 30 seconds. And then I had to eat all the food in the freezer so that it didn't go bad. I tried burning them. Little did I know my bed was flammable, and I had to extinguish the fire. Then I have 1 dead wet monkey in my toilet, 2 dead frozen monkeys in my freezer, and 197 dead charred monkeys in a pile on my bed, and the odor wasn't improving. I became agitated at my inability to dispose of my monkeys or to use the bathroom, and I severely beat one of the monkeys, and I felt better. I tried throwing them away, but the garbage man said that the city was not allowed to dispose of charred primates. I told him about the wet one. He said he couldn't take that one either. I didn't even bother telling him about the frozen ones. I finally arrived at a solution. I gave them out as Christmas gifts. My friends didn't know what to say. They pretended to like them, but I could tell that they were lying, ingrates. So I punched them in their genitals. I like monkeys.
We'll have a good general joke on Sunday morning.
Yes. That was quite interesting, yes. Okay, just remind everybody, we are live November 22nd. We'd love to hear from you.
Give us a call. Just like
See, there's someone calling right now.
Well, the other day was the anniversary of the Jonestown Massacre, and biography, Channel 36, they showed a good show about Jim Jones, did a biography on him, and talked about a lot of things we hadn't seen before, myself anyway. And one of them being that there were several drills, rehearsals for the mass suicide before they actually did it. And then they showed footage from the shooting of Leo Ryan, that senator who went down there and got some defectors. We're getting some calls now, though. I guess that did it. That's all it took, huh? A little Jim Jones talk, huh?
Go ahead.
No,
I thought you had a particular article there or whatever.
I'm looking for one, but we'll get to it.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, I forgot my weekly, dude. Oh, well.
Oh, okay.
Next week.
And, you want any more articles you'd like to share?
No, they found a new dinosaur skeleton and stuff like that, they found fossilized eggs, which included the skin of dinosaurs. That was cool. They have skin. So they have something to...
It's the first time, huh?
Yeah, and then the other dinosaur that they found was, where did they find it at? In Africa. They found a 36-foot-long, 12-foot-high, 5-ton... I'm not even going to try to pronounce the name of this dinosaur, but...
A dinosaur.
It was a dinosaur, yeah.
Great.
It's a new one. It's a brand new one. It hasn't been found before.
Great sound effects there with that. Did you hear it?
Excuse me.
Yes.
Were you aware that the ancient herbivore dinosaurs used to annoy the carnivorous dinosaurs by pointing at what they were eating and saying, "Do you know what's in that?"
Things we hadn't seen before, myself anyway. And one of them being that there were several drills, rehearsals for the mass suicide before they actually did it. And then they showed footage from the shooting of Leo Ryan, that senator who went down there and got some defectors. We're getting some calls now, though. I guess that did it. That's all it took, huh? A little Jim Jones talk, huh?
Go ahead.
No,
I thought you had a particular article there or whatever.
I'm looking for one, but we'll get to it.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, I forgot my weekly, dude. Oh, well.
Oh, okay.
Next week.
And, you want any more articles you'd like to share?
No, they found a new dinosaur skeleton and stuff like that, they found fossilized eggs, which included the skin of dinosaurs. That was cool. They have skin. So they have something to...
It's the first time, huh?
Yeah, and then the other dinosaur that they found was, where did they find it at? In Africa. They found a 36-foot-long, 12-foot-high, 5-ton... I'm not even going to try to pronounce the name of this dinosaur, but...
A dinosaur.
It was a dinosaur, yeah.
Great.
It's a new one. It's a brand new one. It hasn't been found before.
Great sound effects there with that. Did you hear it?
Excuse me.
Yes.
Were you aware that the ancient herbivore dinosaurs used to annoy the carnivorous dinosaurs by pointing at what they were eating and saying, "Do you know what's in that?"
You wouldn't need it.
That was good. I like that, yes. Thank you, yeah. That was Audrey, and she helps out in the sound booth there.
Yep.
Arlo, and that's Misty on the phones. I'd like to always thank our crew whenever I can. David on the camera. We got Jeff D on the camera. We got Keith there as our floor manager. is so always like take a chance to thank my crew whenever I get a chance there.
Arlo does a great work on the art.
Yes,
great
that's
job on the
Arlo's
artwork.
background there we're seeing there.
I'm usually on the other side of a camera.
Yes, and Vic. Okay. Yes. Well,
I have a couple of things. Or at least one thing.
Sure.
Pat Robertson apparently. Oh boy, this guy just does all kinds of things. Well, I'll just go ahead and read it again from the Church and State from AU. Virginia officials have concluded a year-long investigation into TV preacher Pat Robertson's diamond mining venture in Africa, but don't expect to read the results anytime soon. The Attorney General who is looking into this investigation is a Robertson ally, so the results are under lock and key. The Virginia Office of Consumer Affairs launched the investigation in June of '97 after Senator Janet Howell from Northern Virginia, a Democrat, raised questions about Robertson's venture. The newspaper that reported on it last year reported that airplanes belonging to Robertson's Operation Blessing, which is a charity, had been used almost exclusively to support a for-profit diamond mining operation in Zaire. Now it's called the Republic of Congo. In light of the disclosures, there are questions whether the Robertson charity should be able to continue to claim exemption from Virginia's retail sales tax. Diamond mining. Well, there's a lot of money in that, I'm sure. And when you have all kinds of airplanes to help you out with that and get a tax-exempt status at the same time, Pat Robertson, my goodness.
so we do have
A little...
we do have a caller on the line. Let's see how the phones are working. Chris.
Hello.
Good morning.
Hey, how you guys doing?
Excellent.
I had actually called in last week, guys. I told you I'd call back this week and provide the reference for what I was talking about.
Thank you.
Carbon dating.
No, I was referring to the. I'll just re-give it to you again.
Sure.
I made the claim that in the Precambrian granite rocks, that were actually taken from core samples in Canada. Some oil companies provided that. Dr. Robert Gentry in 1979 performed some tests on that, and then in some of the rocks in euplonium, he found the element of euplonium-218, which has a half-life of 3.5 minutes, and he found a full radio halo trapped in solid granite rock.
You found one?
What?
Did you find one halo?
Well, I've seen a picture with like several in there, so apparently not.
Okay.
And I'll just explain the significance of that, if I may.
Sure.
A caller called in last week and asked, what does that even signify? And what that is that shows that within the 3.5 period of time when that element was radioactive and able to discharge a radial halo,
right,
it did so in the solid granite rock. So that shows right there that from the time those rocks were molten, they became solidified in a period of time in order to have. That's what this indicates. That's what this indicates, sir.
That's my understanding.
Well, let me just finish and give you the reference. The reference is from Science Magazine, volume 184, April 5th, 1979, page 62, and the scientist's name is Dr. Robert Gentry.
And it says that it solidified in 3.5 minutes.
Well, the half-life of euplonium-218...
See, that's not what the scientist said. See, you inferred that from what and that scientist never said that it solidified in 3.5 minutes.
Yes, he did, sir.
You just said he didn't.
I said that the half-life is 3.5 minutes. Therefore, if there is a halo, then that means that how could it be there after 3.5 minutes? The element's not radioactive after 3.5 minutes. It only has a half-life of 3.5 minutes.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean that rock solidified in 3.5 minutes.
Okay. Well, I'm open to other interpretations. How would you interpret that? How would that halo be trapped in solid granite rock?
The halo, from my understanding, the halo happens in the solid. The rock was already solid before the radioactive started to break down. And then the halo is evidence of that breakdown.
That's a good assumption. In my experience, that's not how I've seen radiochloric dating or halos to occur. Do you have a? I gave you my citation. Do you have a citation? It's fair if you don't. I accept that.
Well,
Go for it.
We do have one particular citation. Nigel Callender, he wrote the book on this particular book, and the interesting thing about it is he goes through several, and
About euplonium-218?
Yeah, it's in here too.
Okay.
It goes
What
through
does it say about
several dating principles and practices, and they all coincide, and they all agree with each other.
Okay, what does they say? Well, what does the one on euplonium-218 say? Do you have it handy? If you don't, that's fine, sir.
I got tested. I didn't sign.
Okay, well, I'll tell you what, y'all. Okay. You guys can look through that, and you know what I mean, and find. I'm not trying to ambush you.
I appreciate that. Because you're not.
Don't worry about it.
But I would like to clarify what I'm talking about.
Okay.
With that, there's a very definite problem in my understanding of your interpretation of this subject.
What?
We have various things that we can test in laboratory.
Correct.
Okay. We have the euplonium-218. It's a fact that it has a half-life of 3.5 minutes. Okay, that's a fact.
Right.
Okay. The fact that we found it in granite rock, solid granite rock with the halo through solid granite rock.
Right.
Shows that before that element became non-radioactive, became stable, it had emitted that halo into that rock. Otherwise, it wouldn't be there. It would have been gone for a long time. So I'm not, I'm just presenting you the data, and the interpretation really stands on its own. I've given you the reference.
Okay, and you admitted yourself that the scientist that you're using as a reference is not agreeing with your conclusion.
That's wrong, sir. You said that, not me. You said that.
I could have sworn that's what you said.
Well, then if you took that as what I said, then I apologize. That's not what I meant. I will say it again.
Did this scientist that you are using as a reference, that's in the Science magazine and everything else, sit there and say that rock solidified in 3.5 minutes?
He said that you roll your head, but I'm answering your question, sir.
No, you're not. But go ahead.
Okay. Yes. The answer. I'll answer the end of the question. Yes, he did, and I'll explain to you why now. Because based on the fact that element, it's very simple, and I've already outlined it for you. He made the specific claim that this indicates a young age for those rocks. Okay, an assumed age was much greater than that piece of evidence suggests. Now, we can go with an assumption on something we don't know, or we can look at a piece of evidence and make an informed assumption, which is what I'm doing. I'm not suggesting that what I'm telling you is absolutely true, even though it's highly probable based on the validity of the scientific evidence. I'm just presenting to you some data, sir.
Okay, well, let me ask you one more time, and I asked you a straight, simple question. Did that scientist say that rock solidified in 3.5 minutes? And let me finish. You have said several times that is not what he said. You keep on saying younger than the assumed age. That does not mean 3.5 minutes.
Huh.
It might mean he's thinking 100,000 years, where this guy's thinking 100 million.
Sir, okay.
I
have, sir. I'm sorry that you seem to be missing my direct answer.
You're missing my point.
I will answer you directly. Yes.
He says
specifically makes it, and sir, he doesn't even have to make the claim as far as you're saying. Yes, he does. It's inherent. It's like it's a redundant point. What you're trying to say.
No,
the fact that the element, yes, sir, the fact that the element has a half-life of 3.5 minutes, for the halo to even be in that solid granite rock, it indicates directly how old that rock is. If it hadn't have solidified, sir, this is a basic principle of radiocaloric dating.
Okay.
If it hadn't solidified if the rock wasn't solid, the halo wouldn't be there because he found it there. Now, okay, that's the data. All right. And now I've answered your question.
I appreciate you calling, and I appreciate you giving me that, because I will be looking at that science map. Because I honestly do not believe it until I see with my own two eyes that this scientist said that rock solidified in 3.5 minutes.
Okay,
I can't believe there's any scientist in any science magazine of any credibility who would say that granite rock solidified in 3.5 minutes.
Okay. Do you think Science magazine is a credible magazine?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so it's in there. The reference again is.
It says 3.5 minutes.
Is volume 1. 3.5 minutes is the half-life of that, and yes, it was solidified because the halo is in the rock.
Okay,
because the halo. The answer to your question is yes. It's you're having. It's a somewhat of a rigged question for what I'm saying, because you're questioning the interpretation. Okay,
no.
and it's exactly in line with what you're talking about. The reference again is Science magazine, volume 184. It's from 1979, and since that time, sir, nobody 1979. And as geologists, I'm sure you guys understand that that's not even a tick of the clock, geologically speaking, is it?
No.
Now that statement hasn't been challenged. That assertion has not been challenged credibly at all. Nobody has refuted that since 1979. So you have just about 20 years there. Okay.
That's part of the reason why I'd never heard of it, because it was back in 1979.
And that's fair. But you see, that more establishes the credibility of what I'm telling you, because of the fact that in 20 years, the best minds in this world have been unable to refute that particular piece of evidence that I just
assuming that they actually took the challenge of trying to refute.
Well, sir, that's I think that's a straw man you're trying to erect. You're saying
does that report?
Hello?
Does that report conclude that the Earth is about 6,000 years old?
Sir, that report doesn't have any information in regards to that question. That does indicate, though, a young age for the Earth, because the assumed age of the granites is the assumed age. I stress the assumed age is countered by this piece of empirical evidence.
Are you saying this is evidence that the Earth is about 6,000 years old?
Go ahead.
Well, I don't believe that the Earth is 6,000 years old. And I don't know where you get that.
Why are you bringing up this point if that's not your?
Well, I'll tell you, because you're trying to hold me to a stereotype, sir, of saying 6,000 years. I will say that
what
the
is
Earth.
It then?
I will tell you. I will say the Earth is a lot younger, based on the empirical evidence which I've observed, is a lot younger than millions of years or billions of years. It's more in the range of thousands of years, 10,000 years, 20,000 years. I don't personally even believe that it's that old. Okay, I'm
we got
I'm
a couple
prepared.
people want to jump in on this actually.
Okay,
Jim.
Sure, I invite that.
You're not going to be heard.
You're not going to be heard.
No, come over here.
Jim will be while you're walking over here, Jim.
Say, Ray?
Yes, go ahead, Jim.
I did a little background research on Dr. Gentry, and let me just find out a couple things that I discovered.
Sure.
First of all, he is proposing that the Earth is approximately 6,000 years old. Dr. Robert Gentry is a member of the Institute of Creation Research, a group that basically operates under the premise that, yes, indeed, a God created the Earth 6,000 years ago. And when they do any type of research,
sir, does that speak to the evidence, sir? Does that speak to the evidence I'm presenting?
Let me get to this, please.
Sure, go ahead.
I found a number of sources that are making the argument that your polonium-218 is indistinguishable from radon-222, that it's a much greater half-life, and exactly what that time is, I'm sorry, I don't know. I also have a number of references here, actually from a book written by Dr. Gentry. And if I may, in his book, he claims, and this is a
What was the name of that book? So I'm familiar with it.
Let me find my reference.
Should I speak while he's digging that up?
Maybe. Got a minute?
I got it right here.
Okay. Thanks.
Where'd it go?
Well.
Got it right here. 1986, Robert Gentry, Creation's Tiny Mystery, a Earth Science Associates production out of Knoxville, Tennessee. And on page 32, he claims that were tiny polonium halos God's fingerprints in Earth's primordial rocks? Could it be that the Precambrian granites were the genesis rocks of our planet? It is very obvious from statements such as that and other statements that he's published that he looks at all his discoveries in the eye of a creationist, where basically the scientific method is thrown out the window. Again, when he makes basically a pledge in order to be a member of the Institute of Creation Research,
good point.
He's saying that all of my science, all of my investigations from this day forward will go towards proving the young age of the Earth.
Okay, may I respond to that, please?
Please do.
Okay. The fact is that gentleman there in the center said that was a good point, and I really have to disagree with that. That was really no point at all. If you would like to address this, you did make one assertion that polonium-218 is similar to your what was it? What was the element you said?
It was radon-2.
Radon, right, exactly. Now, sir, I will have to disagree with you on that point. I have to say that by virtue of everything I've seen, 218 is a very distinctive. It's a very distinctive of euplonium. It's a very distinctive. I forgot one of my terms here, but it's very distinct from. It's distinct within itself. Now, if you want to discuss the research that I presented to you, instead of saying, well, he's worked for CF in conjunction with the CFR, in the past, the Institute for Creation Research. He's worked with these places in the past, and he may have a particular perspective. But to say that you can make the claim that he didn't use science in his investigation, but to just throw out these names against him isn't quite addressing the subject, sir.
Okay, and then Jeff D here.
Yeah, I'll be happy to address, more specifically the evidence. Though I'm curious to know what your explanation is for the fact that even assuming that this was found in 1979, how come the vast majority of reputable scientists are not accepting this as evidence of a young Earth?
But see, that assumption is false, sir.
Whoa! What assumption is false? You're saying most scientists, reputable scientists, say that the Earth is 6,000 years old?
Sir, you didn't say most. You said the vast majority.
Vast majority.
Right.
Okay. You're right,
listen,
and that leaves room for interpretation.
Sir, I'm sorry. I don't mean to be splitting hairs with you, but I would tell you that there's a larger number of people who have the particular understanding of the evidence that I have than you have been led to believe or that's told to you. Now that's fine if you disagree with that, but that's what I represent to you today. Now I will answer your question.
It seems to me that one article.
I'll answer your question.
I think you just have. One article in a reputable science magazine 20 years ago does not constitute evidence that there is a particularly large segment of the scientific community that thinks that we've got a young Earth.
Do you see what you just did there, sir? Do you see what you just did? You just addressed the subject to a claim I'm not attempting to make. I'm not attempting to make.
I'll move on to the evidence. I'll move on to the evidence.
Sir.
Okay. What you're doing is ridiculously bad science. You're taking one measurement of one thing expressed in one article 20 years ago and saying, oh my gosh, here's a thing that hasn't been explained. This is the reason why. I mean, I won't deny that there are there are instances where applying certain dating techniques, you come up with results that seem to not fit in with the general dating system. This is why there are multiple schemes for dating things, and those ages are determined by comparing a whole bunch of different things. Even assuming that this guy is right and that there is this measurement and he has found it, that's one measuring system. There is a question to be answered there, but it doesn't go very far toward undermining the validity of all the other dating systems that are used.
Okay.
When they're all applied simultaneously and you average out the results, which is what you have to do to eliminate isolated instances of weird measurements like you're citing.
Okay.
Then you get an old Earth.
I've been very nice in letting you give your answer. Now I would appreciate you letting me give mine.
Sure.
I'll be very brief. In the very beginning, I didn't attempt to make the claim that somehow this piece of evidence is relative to the amount or the the ratio of scientists that are in line with my point of view and who are aside from it. I didn't make that claim, sir. I commented on one.
Well, you should.
Sir,
no, I'm going to interrupt you, sir. You should be making that claim because if you can't make that claim, then you don't have a point.
Sir, I let you talk and I didn't interrupt you. Please let me finish. The fact is that I made one reference on one subject. For you to think and for you to assume that that's the only piece of evidence that I have. Sir, you don't know that.
All right. Okay. Fair enough. Fair enough. But the fact is that most scientists don't agree with you. If they did, they've had 20 years to look at these pieces of evidence, assuming there are more that you can point to. They still don't agree with you. What you're doing is you're taking an isolated instance of a thing that seems not to fit, and you're saying, well, this has to be explained. I agree.
That's not true,
that anomalies need to be explained.
Sir,
the existence of isolated anomalies there is just not enough of them to convince a scientific community.
I thought you guys said religious people like to talk over people all the time, but anyway.
We have a show now.
The point is this, that, sir.
Sir.
Okay. You want to talk about your whole body of scientific evidence, okay? We can talk about the assumptions that are made with your radiometric dating. We can talk about some of the finds which contradict the validity of it and the test studies that have been done, especially off the coast of Hawaii there with the rocks that we know how old they are. That's an interesting story itself. However, on this particular subject, sir, I've made one reference in this regard. Now, you've made the reference many times that most scientists believe in along with your way, and I wouldn't dispute that. But I would also submit to you there's a tremendous body who also have a different point of view. And unless you're to suggest, sir, that it's by rule of majority, and what we find out to be true.
No,
we should take the data and stand on itself and compare the data instead of calling people a bunch of names and saying that most of us agree with us anyway, so why should we listen to you?
Okay, now, see, what you're doing is you are trying to play the majority. You're saying, oh, there's a lot more of us that believe this way than I think.
Which way is it, sir? Am I the majority or the minority?
And that's irrelevant. And you're suggesting, just a moment, you're suggesting that I'm saying that there should be a tyranny of the majority, and that's, in fact, not the case. What I'm talking about is scientists, the people who are qualified to evaluate this stuff. You've got to explain why the scientists who are qualified to evaluate this stuff just don't agree with you. It's not a question of of numbers of bodies. It's a question of the quality of the skills of the people who are evaluating the evidence.
Therefore, for you to make the reference that you have more scientists that believe your way is an irrelevant point, and you just agreed to that.
No,
I appreciate
no, it's not the question of the number of scientists. It's the question that it's scientists.
Okay.
Scientists.
You're the one that brought up.
You made reference to all the things that you've encountered. What are you reading? Are you reading creation science publications, or are you in fact reading the science?
Sir, I've represented to you scientific information. Okay.
One little bit, right?
Sir,
and reference to other little bits. And the fact is that you are not a scientist, sir.
How do you know
scientists.
How
are
do you
you
know
a
that?
Scientist?
Actually, I have a degree in biology, so I'd have to say that.
You are speaking on. You have a degree in biology, you say, and you are speaking on geology, which is outside your field.
Exactly,
so you're already wrong.
Exactly right. Exactly right. But you asked me the question, a broad question. I answered the broad question.
Okay. But now we've asked the narrow question, and we've narrowed it down.
That's irrelevant.
You don't have the slightest idea what you're talking about,
sir. That's in all fairness. I think your ad hominem attacks are really beside the point. You don't have to question my personal intelligence whenever I'm presenting evidence that's different. Now, sir, if you want to talk about these other things, I'm more than happy to. Well, if you want to, you've made a lot of claims, but I haven't really heard you bring up a lot of stuff.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm just criticizing your quality of thinking, sir.
You have a good day. Because we have other callers we'd like to get to, and I appreciate Jeff.
Yeah, thanks, Jeff.
Jeff's input there.
I really got my.
But and as Jim brought up, you got to look at the source of where that's coming from. And Jim, what was that guy's name again?
Gentry.
Gentry, yes.
Dr. Gentry.
Yes. Him being the source, it shows you how weak that argument is and how weak that source is. And my impression is all the other sources that he can mention, whatever few those would probably be just as weak. Let's go on down to Jane.
Hello?
Good morning.
Hi. I would like to say something about the last caller for anyone who may be watching the show who might have been rolled by his big words and pseudoscientific claims.
Thank you.
He's taking evidence from one source who's probably completely biased and just looking for any excuse to explain creation. If this were true, what he's saying, all the scientists would have jumped on it. This would be a really big thing if it were true, because, it would be amazing, but it's not.
I appreciate your point there, yes. And,
then again,
Arlo?
Even
we have Arlo who's going to add something.
Certainly no evidence should be ignored, even if you can find a little bitty thing which seems to hint that the universe is young. You can't forget that we've so far found much more than 99% of our findings to show the Earth is in the billions of years of age.
4.5, I think.
Yeah, and our current guess is what, 4.5?
4.5 billion years.
Something to that effect, and like 15 billion for the universe.
And the biggest thing is we know the universe is aged by how long it takes the light to travel from stars to get to here.
Exactly.
That's an obvious one.
Yeah. So I appreciate. Any other callers there? Any other points there, Jane?
No, that was it.
Thank you for your call.
Thanks.
Bye.
All right.
I discovered, which is kind of neat, that I don't know if many people thought of this way of realizing the universe is old, but I was looking at some pictures of galaxies, and if you see, there are some instances where we can see galaxies that have just collided or just finished colliding into each other.
Right. And
you have to realize that would take millions, hundreds of millions of years for that, if you imagined it animated, for that collision to occur. And boy, if everything was created a few thousand years ago, God put that there to trick us.
He's a tricky one. He's clever.
Well, we love hearing from everyone out there, both sides of the coin there. And it is November 22nd. We do take your calls live on the air. Never tell what you're going to hear next. It's a free forum. We like to stay on the religious topics, but we'll talk about anything.
I got something real quick from the British Freethinker again, and this is not on our main subject of geology, sorry. But American actor John Travolta has reportedly invited American President Bill Clinton to join the Church of Scientology. Hollywood gossip columnist Janet Charlton claims that the star, John Travolta, an ardent Scientologist, has been trying to persuade the lifelong Baptist President Clinton that the cult of Scientology can help him overcome his sex addiction. It is unlikely the president will join, however. According to the Daily Telegraph, a team of 3 ministers have been asked by Bill Clinton to counsel him and pray with him on a weekly basis to help him overcome the temptations that led to the Lewinsky affair.
We understand that President Clinton knows about us because he subscribes to Faith and Firepower.
Well, that's excellent.
Yeah. And last night's Saturday Night Live was great. Linda Tripp just could not stop eating. It was great.
Well, we have one Mark Drunk. Good morning. Hello?
Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, are you familiar with the death and resurrection of Christ?
I've heard the story.
Heard the myth.
Yeah.
Not very impressed.
Not very impressed?
Yeah.
Dead people do not rise from the dead. It just doesn't happen.
Would you like to comment about it?
Yeah, I would like to say that there is power in the blood of Jesus Christ, and I pray to Him every morning, all day, when I need Him, and I don't understand why y'all have to put that down. It's not a myth.
Yes, it is. And
it takes more faith to believe that you came from a monkey than it does.
I don't believe I came
believe
from a
in
monkey.
Jesus. If you believe in evolution, you do.
No, I don't. You don't know what evolution is.
I know what evolution is.
You think you do, but you've been told wrong.
Misstated it quite
And,
well.
I can't remember who the original was on this quote there, but it takes more to think than it does to believe. So that's the reason we have a whole lot less thinkers than we do believers.
And I've heard about the blood of Jesus quite a bit. I'm wondering, did Jesus ever say, in the future, we'll be able to give somebody else your blood and save their life? And that actually, if that technology had not been stymied by religion for so long, they would have saved a lot of people's lives.
Also, you're practicing the cannibalism, basically.
Ritual cannibalism.
Ritual
What's up
cannibalism.
with that?
Yes.
Well, let me make one more point. So, why don't you put yourself there on the screen so I can look you in the eye?
All right.
All right. Screen on.
We're working on it right now.
On screen.
Okay. Now, this is what I would like to do. I would like to just look you out here in the eye, and you can't see me, obviously, but I would like to pray with you.
No, we don't. Allow that.
Hey, listen. All you got to do is agree.
I don't have to.
What's the harm? If it's not real and there's nothing.
Wait a minute.
If it's not real, then why are you threatening?
You're right. But let me ask you a question before you even attempt this. Let me try to establish why you would even want to pray for him. Is your God omnipresent?
That's right. He's omnipresent, omniscient. He's all-knowing. He's all.
Then why would you need to invoke any favors from this guy then? If he already knows.
It's not a favor. It's your heart and your soul, man.
And he already knows if I'm going to heaven or hell.
Then inside of you, and he can move this.
If he already knows everything, then he knows who's going to heaven and who's going to hell. Why would your prayer make any difference to someone who already knows everything?
Because he loves me, and you have your choice, and you have your own.
So you have special favor with this?
I have favor, yes, I do.
And
with the blood of Jesus Christ.
Okay. Well, Darwin bless you.
Yeah. Amazing. Going on about the blood again. Why the bloodlust? I've always wondered that. I was a Roman Catholic, and I actually about a year ago I attended a little service, not a mass, but a service at a Catholic church, and gosh, it was just blood this and blood that, torture, pain, death, and Darwin bless you. Thank you very much, but Darwin bless you. My goodness.
So there you go.
Note, Catholic.
Now ready.
If you stop and think at the logical like that, if this God is supposed to be all-knowing, all-powerful, then us little insignificant person down here, little thoughts and prayers or whatever else are going to convince this person to come down here and make good things happen. It's not logical.
You cannot add. Well, never mind.
Okay, let's go on down to Noel.
Yes. I'm sure you've heard this question many times before, but there is the claim that atheism is itself a religion. It's based on a belief that God does not exist. That is very unscientific, since you can't prove a negative.
So that's the reason.
What are your comments on that?
We don't say that. We prefer the definition. I have no beliefs on or about the supernatural. I never say there is no God.
And a religion is filled with dogma and doctrines and things you've got to do and people you got to pray to, and there's nothing like that in atheism. Not a thing.
Just look at us.
All it is we just reject that idea that there's some non-physical presence.
And we're also a 501c nonprofit organization. We're not a religious tax-exempt organization.
Educational organization.
But isn't that rejection based on a belief?
No.
The state rejects us as a religion.
Well, that too, but that's good. I'm not a religion,
there are so many different definitions of God out there. We're leaving that up to you. And I have not heard of any definition that does not incorporate some form of supernatural. So once you put your God in our realm of the supernatural, you're right. It does not fit in any part whatsoever of our.
Yeah.
So it's up to you to tell. Your definition of atheist is no God. That's not our definition.
Well, but it sounds like to me what the definition you're giving is the definition of agnosticism.
No.
Well, there's a fine line between the two. Gnosticism leaves that door open to the possibility a little bit.
Yeah.
But doesn't closing the door to that possibility is defined as a belief, because you're believing that a negative, you're believing that it is not provable.
Now, if you choose to not subscribe to a crazy, irrational idea that is really irrelevant in the first place, that's not a belief. And atheism is not a religion, it is a religion, meaning without religion. It is the a prefix meaning without. We say we are living free without religion. We don't need it. We don't regard it as factual or relevant. We have no use for it. It's not consequential. Therefore, we're not a religion. So, that's a good answer for your question, isn't it?
It still sounds to me sort of like doublespeak. You're saying that you're not saying that God does not exist, and that you are saying that God does not exist.
I'm saying that all the crazy, irrational, and self-contradictory ideas called gods that have been put forth so far don't make sense, are impossible, are contradictory, self-contradictory, and do not warrant any serious consideration.
Well, that's a logical statement, right? But to say that God doesn't exist, is an illogical statement.
If you can't define God in the first place, it's silly to say God anything.
Right.
Well, right, but to say that's why it's silly to say God does not exist, because it's an illogical statement.
But the crazy, illogical, and irrational, impossible God idea, no, I can say easily that an all-loving, all-powerful, all-knowing, and all-present God obviously does not exist. That's obvious. That's a given.
Well, because...
So, let me ask you, do you believe in reincarnation?
Well, it's as the guy once said, about 3 days a week, But no, actually, I am a Christian, and I do accept most of the dogma. But I try to be a thinking one rather than just accepting things in a fundamentalist mode.
And I appreciate your call. I got a bunch of other callers on the line.
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
Thanks. All right. You have a good day.
There's a lot of gods to not believe on. What about Thor and Zeus?
Yeah.
Thanks for pointing that out, Arla.
Zoroaster.
The callers are backing up here. Let's go on to Martha.
Yes, hi. How are you guys doing this morning?
Okay. Fantastic.
Yeah. Got two little things to kind of bring up. One is this conversation that's gotten started about the blood of Christ.
Sure.
Follow me on this for just a sec.
All right.
This tells me one of the big problems that we're having in our society about lack of responsibility of our own actions. Think about this. There is a group of people out there who are willing to let another person be tortured, be persecuted, be killed for days and days amongst this group, this town, okay, and then to kill him and let him hang, and then put him in this grave. And then they're going to say, okay, well, we feel so bad, we're going to say he was born again.
That's an interesting point of view there.
That is showing a major lack of responsibility of accepting responsibility for our own actions. That it's okay because Christ died for our sins, then it's okay. We're going to be okay. I think that's one of the big problems we're having in our society today.
Excellent point.
I would agree with that.
Yeah. The other thing is, I recommend the movie Elizabeth that just came out about Queen Elizabeth.
Oh.
It's not the greatest screenplay in the world. I mean, it's kind of got some problems with it. but it really talks a lot about the battle between the Catholics and the Protestants and how that devastated so many people and how many millions of people were killed in the cause of religion. And it's kind of an interesting thing for those people who like to mull over those ideas,
yes.
Who aren't real stagnant in their ideas.
Well, and I like true historical events like that.
Yeah. So that's just some thoughts to mull over.
Thanks for the recommendation.
Have a great week.
You
Bye-bye.
too. Yes. All right, let's go on down to Paul.
Hi, this is Paul.
Good morning.
How y'all doing? You guys got to get a later time slot. I missed the early part of the show.
We're on for an hour and a half, though, so we got another 20 minutes to go.
Okay, great. I just had some comments on some of the things that some of the previous callers said.
Sure.
This guy who keeps talking about this radioactive element and how it shows that the Earth is very young.
Thank you.
There's something just utterly ludicrous about the idea that the Earth, or especially the whole cosmos, was created a few thousand years ago.
Yeah, that's amazing, isn't it?
Right. So basically, we've got light coming in. We've measured the speed of light. It's a pretty reliable measurement. It's about the best known fact we have in all of physics. And if if the cosmos is only several thousand years old, then we have light that appears to be coming from millions of light years away. And it must have all started within the last few thousand years.
So it actually travels faster than itself.
Right, or basically what must be going on, and this is my theory, right, is there's a great big box around the solar system, and it's a rear projection screen. And God is bouncing all this stuff off this rear projection screen, and it's coming through, and it looks like we live in a universe that's millions and millions of years old, but God is messing with our heads.
The great deceiver, yes.
Yeah.
That wouldn't
okay, another one was...
just a second. Arlo, yes.
I just wanted to mention that wouldn't explain parallax, of course.
Yes.
Parallax.
That's what the light goes different. That's how they can measure how far stuff was away. And,
well, I'll have to work on my theory.
Okay. But go ahead.
Okay, no, the screen is just far enough away that we can't quite measure the parallax there.
There you go.
That must be it. Yeah. And maybe he moves it back. Sometimes he has to update the system.
Yes, because he knows what we're doing all the time.
Right, so
he's already playing games with us.
Right, the screen is just a few thousand light years away, but it has to be that far so that the parallax thing works out.
Right.
Okay, the other thing was the caller talking about, atheism being a religion or whatever, and the crucial point that I think you guys were making is that the term God, you can mean anything you want to by it, but anytime you mean something interesting by it, you're probably wrong. And so, for example, if somebody tells you there's a unicorn, you might say, I think you're wrong. And they say, no, but there really is, and they show you a rhinoceros. In that case, you might go, okay, buddy, if you want to call that a unicorn, fine, there's a unicorn. Please leave us alone.
Yeah. Please don't kill me.
Right. And the same thing with the supernatural. The term supernatural is a very interesting one. What would something supernatural be like that makes it supernatural instead of makes it something else?
Right, because if you can define it, it's no longer supernatural.
Yeah,
right. So, for example, suppose we found out that the stuff we've been calling water isn't really water. It's this other stuff that behaves just like water.
Right.
What would it mean to find out that water was not really water, but this other stuff that behaves just like water? And until there's some content attached to any of these notions, then of course you can't refute them.
Exactly. Yeah, until they're willing to define it, how can we?
This is. I think is this Professor Wilson?
Professor Wilson?
That's me.
Okay.
Oh, Jeff D.
Dr. Coons last night.
From the audience.
Oh, you were in the audience at the debate?
Yep, that was me.
Good debate.
Oh, yes. And, well, thanks for calling in the show.
Sure.
And we'd like to invite you down to the bagel shop once we leave here.
Okay, I'll meet you there.
Fantastic.
Okay, see you then.
I appreciate your input. We got a bunch of other calls, huh?
Okay, bye.
That's 5th and Lavaca.
Yes, thanks, Jeff.
The hot
Jeff
jumbo
D.
bagel.
pointed out that was Professor Wilson.
All right.
Yes.
Celebrities, cool.
Oh, all right. So it's going down to Rich.
Hey. Hello?
Morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, how you doing?
Okay.
Fantastic.
Hey, one thing I like to notice, a lot of these Christians talk about their God being omnipresent, omniscient, and all-knowing, all-powerful, and all this stuff, right?
Right.
Now, the thing I noticed, if you're looking at the Old Testament, he's not that way.
Oh, no.
But after they go into captivity and they're influenced by the Mithric religion of the Babylonians and then influenced by the Greeks, when the Greeks control that area after Alexander the Great, and you have the uprising, you know, where we get Hanukkah from with the, for those guys, the Maccabees, then all of a sudden, a few hundred years later, that God is all-powerful, all-knowing, and Satan is a big bad guy when he's hardly ever mentioned in the Old Testament. And that's what, you know, it's been influenced by these outside religions. And because if you read the Bible, you can tell there's a big difference between the Old and New Testament God.
Oh, yes.
And then one other thing I noticed is they were bringing up earlier that the God knew everything. That God in the Old Testament, he doesn't know everything. He forgets things. like there's one incident in the book of Exodus where he forgot his covenant when they had made the golden calf, and he was going to wipe out all of Israel and said that he would make a new righteous nation through Moses. Moses had to remind him of this covenant that he made with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob.
Good
and then
point.
he said, oh, let me repent. You know, the New Bible says relent instead of repent, but the King James says repent. Now, I was saying, and he said evil thoughts. Then I said, wait a second, this God has evil thoughts. But according to Jesus, if you think about, look at your brother with hate or anger, then you've murdered him. Then God murdered Israel in his mind. And then I said that God has to repent of those evil thoughts because he's basically a sinner. Then I asked, who is God's Redeemer? Who is God's Savior? But, of course, they don't like to discuss those kinds of things. And you know, it's just a lot of basically crazy things that are in that Bible that they can't explain. And then another thing, they'll say, oh, we have so much evidence of the New Testament. Guess what? If I had a superpower, the Roman Empire, protecting me, protecting the Catholic Church, protecting our documents, protecting our leaders, you know, from the time of Constantine on, then I would have hundreds and thousands of documents of our religion, but there wouldn't be that many Gnostic texts. Why? Because we persecuted and murdered the Gnostics. We persecuted and murdered the other Christian groups that did not believe like us. And we destroyed and burnt their books and, you know, and all their texts. So we would have loads of information backing us up, and there wouldn't be anything left of these other guys' things except found in some caves. You know what I'm saying?
You're right. History's written by the victors.
Hey, thanks, man.
And you mentioned Mithraism, and it's the Jesus myth is almost completely plagiarized from Mithraism.
Yeah, from other myths, yeah. I need to go, though. I do appreciate your input.
Thanks.
You have a good day.
Feel free to come on down to the bagel shop.
Yes. And let's go on down to Skip.
Hi, how are you?
Okay. Good morning.
I wanted to interject here with a little bit of an X-Files type proposition.
I like the X-Files.
I don't know if you're aware of it or not, but in the first chapter, I'm not laying any kind of Christian line on you here or anything, but in the first chapter of Ezekiel in the Bible, it talks about Ezekiel by the river Chebar and these beings in wheels, the color of mercury. Actually, they use the archaic name for mercury, which was electrum, which later changed to hydrargium, which later changed to mercury. So they're silver-colored wheels with something like coals in the middle that dart about to and fro, and they have lofty rims with eyes all around. And I was just thinking, isn't it possible if we live in a 20 billion plus year old universe that some race of beings on another planet evolved like 1 million, 10 million, 100 million or more years ahead of us, and they were like, you know, like 100 million years ago, they're where we are now, and they're as gods.
I see exactly where you're going, and there's actually a religion out there. The Raelians actually believe that. So that there's
that we've been visited by beings from other planets.
So you know, it's a very enjoyable story, but I can't believe it. But I can't prove it's not true either. So and like I say, there's a whole religion based just on that story.
Wouldn't these beings appear to us as gods, though?
Exactly. I understand exactly the point you're making. And there's several authors out there, Chariots of God, that particular synopsis has been played out by several different authors, not just by religion, but so you're right. There's no way I can prove that it's not that synopsis is not true.
Thank you very much.
All right. You have a good day. There's a lot of things I can't prove.
Yeah, there's a million and one ideas out there.
We're going down to
prove it is not a good reason to believe it.
There you go.
Nate. Oh,
here.
Nate. Let's
hey,
try again.
How you guys doing?
Okay.
As an atheist myself, I have decided not to participate with Christmas. I've told everybody in my family that I don't want any gifts, and because basically I'm not going to buy them any, and
You've been called a Scrooge?
Well, the other thing is I disagree with the commercialism of it too.
I can applaud your efforts there.
Which really has nothing to do with the religion aspect even. But one of the things I wondered about, do you guys know anything about I've heard that it was actually a pagan religion, like a after harvest sort of celebration or something like that?
Winter solstice.
It's the winter solstice, and we're going to be doing a winter solstice. Thanks for might as well announce it.
Sure.
We have plans of doing our own winter solstice special, December 20th, and one of the things is we're going to have the whole entire group, Atheist Community Office,
here.
Austin, right here, Alan's studio, and we'll be doing stories and hopefully some music. We're going to try to get some music about the pagan solstice festivals through history.
So did they give and receive gifts, or?
There's so many different traditions.
They did that sort of thing a lot, but nowadays a lot of atheists anyway, celebrate the solstices, and much the same way. In fact, the Christmas tree is something that is also not original in Christianity, and a lot of atheists have a tree in their home, and it'd be like a solstice tree or something like that, but they'd also give gifts. A lot of them do, yeah.
But to bring just a little history on those, that I just read recently here, that Constantine is the one that brought the birth of Christ to the winter solstice. Up until then, it was celebrated in January, and he wanted to become a Christian, and he was in the authority to change official dates and make official religions and everything else, and he brought the Christian religion and more in line with the pagan religion, and brought it to Christmas, to the winter solstice, and then he also got them celebrating the Sabbath on Sunday. Up until that time, they were celebrating it on Saturday. So the whole idea behind Christmas is that there's a lot of history that the Christians don't know, and we're hopefully going to inform them this year.
But and we meet at a bagel shop downtown. You said you were an atheist. Come on down.
Okay. Yeah, I've been meaning to, but it's kind of hard to get up and moving around on Sunday sometimes.
But I have a lot of other callers. You got any other points you'd like to make quickly?
Well, I've gotten in a little trouble at work over this stance, and it's kind of a conundrum. I don't know. I don't know what to do about it, but I guess I'll just ignore it, basically. But
well, come down and talk to us.
We just make the statement, if you have to, that you're not going to participate in this holiday, and leave it at that. And if they don't want to accept it, that's their problem.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you all a lot.
You have a good day, and have a good one.
I've done the same thing at my jobs when they have that office Christmas party, and we ought to trade names to exchange gifts. I just said, no, take my name out of that hat. I'm not going to do it.
Because they can't.
They can't force you to do it, and they can't fire you for it.
They can't hold against you either, because there's Jews and other people, that don't celebrate Christmas, and so they have their own traditions. Let's go on down to Bill. Good morning, Bill.
Yeah, good morning. I got one comment about a previous caller who was talking about the lack of responsibility and the fact that the Christians let somebody else get crucified for their sins.
Right.
I think she missed an important point, that it also shows that how can God be just, as He has claimed to be, if He punishes somebody else for somebody else's sin or crime?
Yeah.
There's not a judge in this country who would say, like, for example, if my girlfriend was to get caught stealing, and she went before a judge and she was found to be guilty, and I said to the judge, I'd like to pay the price of her crime, the judge would laugh me out of court.
Mm-hmm.
It just wouldn't happen, and nobody in society would accept that as a just punishment.
Mm-hmm. Excellent point.
But for Christianity, they accept it, and that to me seems kind of weird. And the other caller about the rear projection TV, I thought that was pretty neat.
Yeah, that was funny.
I like that too.
Yep. The only problem I have with it is I prefer to argue atheism mainly from reason-based arguments instead of science-based arguments, because even though science is very, very strong, there is always the chance that scientific evidence in the future is going to prove, some theory now to be insufficient. And that's about the only reason I don't like to argue science for atheism, because there's always the chance, science always says that this is our best knowledge today, and that may change in the future. And if you argue Theory X supports atheism, there's the chance in the future that Theory X is going to get modified.
Excellent point.
So, thank you.
You're welcome. Have a good week. All right.
We have a website.
We
have a website.
Sure, go right ahead.
Well, what do you know? www.atheist-community.org.
I was at a friend's house the other day and actually got on it.
Oh, yeah?
See it first time.
Kellen Von Hauser does that, and she does an excellent job on that webpage.
Yep.
And we have a lot of talent in our group, and I always like to share our talent there. Let's go on down to Mike.
Hey, good morning.
Good morning, Mike.
How you guys doing this fine Sunday morning?
Fantastic.
It's absolutely beautiful outside. Hey, listen, a couple of quick things watching the show this morning, and like some of the other callers say, I wish I could go on a little bit later so I could catch the first part of the show.
Set that alarm clock.
Real quickly, y'all beat me to the punch on the pagan things. I find it ironic that the Christian religion has indoctrinated so many pagan holidays into their religion, and of course we know why, or at least I know why from what I've read. It was to bring in people into the Christian faith, and they needed some of the pomp and circumstance of some of the fun things that, quote-unquote, fun things that pagans did, so they indoctrinated these different celebrations into their religion. And also, real quickly, to the young man that called and wanted to pray for y'all this morning, for y'all and I guess for myself as well, I find it ironic that he would want to pray to a God who, by all accounts in the Old Testament, real quickly to Nate, I don't think there was any mention of Satan in the Old Testament. I think the closest that the Bible comes to it, the Old Testament that is mentioning of the serpent when Adam and Eve were
excellent point.
Cast from the Garden of Eden. So that would lead one to believe that the idea of good and evil was one and the same, that one and the same being a quote-unquote benevolent God. However, I would find it ironic that he would want to pray for y'all or for me or for anyone else who is a non-believer or an atheist in our case, to a God who really wasn't so benevolent. I mean, look at some of the things he did: floods, indiscriminate killing of the firstborn Egyptian children, so on and so forth.
Yeah, we brought that up several times on this show about the number of deaths and everything else in the Bible. I'm running out of time.
Okay, thanks a lot. Well, maybe I'll see y'all this morning.
Okay.
Yeah, come on down to the Hot Jumble Bakery down on 5th and Lavaca. Okay, we're going down to Danny.
Hey, how you doing?
Okay.
Great.
Hey, I woke up this morning with a lot of things to do, but y'all put me back an hour and a half.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry about that.
No, I love your show. I just can't turn it off once I turn it on.
Okay.
Hey, listen, I noticed I have one of those bumper stickers, "Praying is Begging," on my car.
Yeah?
But it's kind of faded. I know I got mine from the American Atheist, who's no longer in town.
They are actually, to this day right now, yes, they are.
Part of the access, I'm not allowed to give that information. I'm sorry. I'm not allowed to sell things.
Yeah, okay. Well, I understand. That.
So I'm very limited on what I can say.
I guess you can tell me if their office is still open or not, huh?
Yes, I work there.
Yeah, Joe Zamecki does work there, and they are still open. They're still talking about moving, though.
Well, yeah, they're trying to move up to New Jersey, and don't know exactly when yet, but they're still in town right now.
And they're still in the phone book and everything else.
What are y'all's hours?
Huh?
What are y'all's hours there?
Go ahead.
Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, just like a bank.
Okay. Well, I'll stop by one day and get me another one.
Okay. All right.
All righty.
You have a good day.
Okay, bye.
I got my Darwin fish on my car finally, and I'm getting quite a few looks on that. I was noticing all the fish are pointed left, and all the Darwins are pointed right. Is there some significance
political statement there?
Yeah. What I got from my old Pentecostal friend I used to know, who I don't anymore and don't need to, but he said that actually he got mad when he saw a Christian fish that was pointed the wrong way. And I said, well, wrong way? I mean, it seems like it's symmetrical. You can point it either way, right? And he says, no. You do not point it that particular. I don't remember which way it was he was talking about, but he thought people were going to hell. And then he saw the Darwin fish, and he said, not only does it have legs and some word all over it, pointing the wrong way. I think he's kind of missing the point. And also, did you know that the fish, when it originally came out, what I understand is it pointed straight up, like a rocket. And that was the way they wanted it.
Yeah, because like hanging on, like you just caught it or something.
Like you caught a fish, hook, line, and sinker, you know? Okay.
A fish the wrong way, I guess, is like a cross upside down to them.
Oh.
Okay, maybe.
And so they put the Darwin fish to the right on purpose, I guess. All right, let's go on down to Jim. Jim?
I believe in miracles.
That was our first call on our first show. The exact same thing was said. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. We haven't heard from you in a while. Let's go on down to Tim.
Yes, sir. Hey, I just called to let you know I really enjoy your show.
Thank you.
Yeah, I know what you mean about the holidays. You know, you're talking about the Thanksgiving thing. That sucks. You know.
I kind of like turkey myself.
I ain't what she said.
Christmas stuff.
I ain't going there, bro.
Okay. All right, quickly. Run out of time.
All right. Love many, trust few, always power your own canoe.
Okay.
Thank you. Let's go on down to Joe.
Yeah, Joey, actually.
Joey. Sorry.
Hey, you guys, just to play the devil's advocate. This is pretty good, huh?
Yes, we like it.
I feel like I'm on the pun zone. Hey, you guys, there's obviously a lot of sentiment there that says that God does not exist because there's no proof, factual proof to back it up, right? Is that the gist of it?
Okay.
Question I have is, does the Atheist Experience, or do atheists do anything in order to prove or disprove that there is or is not a God? Or is atheism just sort of a bunch of guys that sit around and say, well, we don't have anything in front of us, so we don't believe it? Now, if that's the case, where would we be in terms of technology and everything else if everybody sat around and said, well, shit, the world's flat. I don't have any proof that it's round. So rather than actually proactively going out and looking for some type of proof.
That's a bad analogy because they had a lot of argument on whether or not the earth was flat or round, and for thousands of years that they actually measured the diameter of the earth quite accurately back in Egypt time or whatever else. So
nobody ever said believe the earth is round on faith.
Yeah, and nobody told you that. Yeah, and nobody asked you to believe that the earth was round on faith. If they said the earth was round, they put out facts and demonstrations to prove that the earth was round.
Do you guys have any proof that God does not exist?
It's not up to us.
You can't prove a negative.
Yeah, you can't disprove an irrational God idea like that.
Okay, one last thing. I've got a friend that believes in miracles.
We've talked to him?
He's my friend.
Yes.
All right.
Thanks.
Yeah, have a good day. I guess we'll do Alan quickly. Alan, we got 2 minutes.
I believe in miracles.
Thank you. All right. That's it, callers. We're not gonna take any more. Well, we're getting ready to close up here. We're heading down to the Hot Jumble Bakery down on 5th and Lavaca.
Good, because I'm starving.
We'd love to see everybody down there.
I'm just ahead today.
Yes. He will come model for any Jesus posters you want to do or whatever else.
Let's get a look at some more of Arlo's work there. Arlo Pignotti doing the artwork in our background. Excellent job, Arlo.
Yes.
And the sound also. Beautiful. Thanks, Austin.
We love you, Austin.
I wore the wrong clothes. I'm not invisible.
But you're yellow.
Yellow.
It's just as good.
Well, sits in my eyes.
Look twice, bicyclists are everywhere.
I love it.
This has been the head show. And that orange one on the bottom, that was excellent. What is that?
I love that. It's Jesus.
Can we get one more look at that background, the orange one? Yeah. Oh no. Oh, it is. We're not getting the color on that.
Yeah. See, we're losing the color on that. That's actually orange, folks.
Well, great. Okay, one just above it. That's far enough. Thank you there, Dave. You're gonna hit me in the face in a minute here.
Yes, and that one.
Oh yeah.
That's wild.
Fungus.
You look like a Klingon, man. Fun with graphics. Your blue's coming through, though.
Yeah, they changed colors.
Yeah.
Thanks again to the UT Skeptical Society for that excellent debate the other night, Friday night.
Yes.
Whoa.
Blinking Jesus.
I am God. Bow down now.